Last week I mentioned that I need to get some feature scripts that I put aside. I need to get back working on them and get them finished. And I want to tell you about the one I'm working on. And I want to mention another focus I want to have. Maybe I have too many focuses at once, I don't know, but I want to mention what I'm doing there. The script I've been working on is called A Test of Love. And I had about 30 or 40 pages, but it was kind of like just all the big bits, the exciting bits, the interesting twists and turns. But it wasn't really, it certainly wasn't flushed out, obviously. It's only 30 or 40 pages. And it wasn't really thought through. So I really like the start, I really like the end, and there's some kind of set pieces along the way which I really like, but it wasn't really hooking up and making much sense. So what I've done is gone back to the opening sequence, and I think I mentioned last week that I'm going to try this 8-sequence approach and see how it works. I've gone back to the start, and I've introduced another character. It's a fairly sparse beginning, and the extra character really helps, even though it makes it more complicated. It really helps to give meaning or give reason to some of the other things that I've got going on in the script. So that's really good, and I'm trying to really get a tone or a flow to the script which wasn't there before. And I'm working on it's okay to have great ideas and write them down and all the rest, but they've got to be justified. I mean, not justified in the real world, but justified in the world of your script. And that's really important, because we've all seen films where something happens and then something else happens and you just think, what's going on here? Why did this other thing happen? It makes no sense. It's not justified, it's not earned. And so I want to make sure that you know, we get that flow, because the last thing you need is people jumping out of the story because something doesn't feel right. And if you're trying to get someone to read your script, that's the last thing you want, because once you get to that point, you're reading along and things are starting to be like that, then you lose interest. You don't care anymore. So I've got to make sure that we care about there's two main characters, and we want to make sure we care about them, and that the relationship they have and that they have with the characters they interact with are believable. And that, on the surface, that sounds pretty simple, but when you get down to the nitty-gritty, you realize that everything's more complicated. I mean, it doesn't have to be that complicated, but it just has to, you just have to believe it. I guess that's the easiest way of saying it. The next thing, I've got to blow my nose, I'll just cut here. Helicopters. It's a weekend, lots of helicopters. The other thing that I mentioned was that having another focus. I know I'm trying to work out how the hell to get some short films made. I'm still looking for a producer, but you know, without any of this, everything's difficult. So I'm doing that, along with you know, submitting to festivals with Kin Spirits when I can, but we need to make a tweak to the credits there before I do too much else there, and finishing some of these scripts. But I also sat down and thought about these feature scripts that I have or that I'm working on. And the one story which started me down the path of trying my hand at writing scripts and making films is one that I realized that if I never did anything else again and I could make one film, that would be the one. So I need to put some more effort into that, and the need to do that became more relevant for me today, because I got some news about an old friend and I haven't seen him in over 25 years, and we kept in touch occasionally on Facebook just to keep the connection, but it only found out an hour or two ago, and it just kind of it's rocked me and caught me by surprise as well. And it made me realize that, you know, you never know when your time is going to come. So I want to focus on preparing that film, getting that, doing as much of the pre-production work as I can, and I need to find a producer as well. I can do it at both, but my experience with kin spirits tells me that you know, things will be a lot better if I have help. So I want to focus on that as well, and try and do as much as I can to get that ready. There's some things I want to do, like a screen test to see chemistry between the two main characters. The characters have been there the actors have been there for some time, but I need to check that the two people work well together. And there's things like that I can do, and other things like think more deeply about shots and locations and make loads of notes on the scenes and prepare rehearsals, and there's things that I can do step by step to get that prepared. The friend that passed away, everyone knew him as Eka, Peter Birch Marshall. And we first met at high school, and he's someone who was a warrior, a warrior, that's for sure. Someone who has always had your back through thick and thin, as another old friend of mine, Steve Lewis, reminded me today. And great sportsman, loved to party, but also had a heart of gold. And I remember fondly times when we were teenagers going on camping trips, and I remember one night he stayed over at my place, and Mum was not happy with us. And there's many stories about Eka that I'll never be able to tell anyone. And I suspect any of you that know him well will have a similar situation. But he had, and I remember some of the talks we had as teenagers. Yes, he's a warrior, but he had a gentleness, a kindness. I don't know. I always thought I'd catch up with him again. And I hope I do somewhere down the road. Yeah. I think that'll do us.